Hi guys, good morning or good afternoon everyone, and also to Sir Lexter. Today we will discuss about geologic history of the earth, and I hope that all of us will learn about how the earth exists until to the present day. So please listen to reporters and let's start.
So, good evening everyone. Good evening, sir. So, sabi nga po nila rin a while ago, ang magiging topic po natin or discussion is about the geologic history of the Earth. So, magiging exciting po ito kasi dito po natin malalaman or saan talaga nagsimula ang ating mundo or ang ating Earth. So, in geologic history of the Earth, malalaman din natin yung evolution of the continents, the atmosphere, the ocean, and biosphere. So, maraming different types of phenomena and events din po ang nangyari sa ating mundo. Maraming pinagdaan ng proseso, ilang bilyon, milyon, hanggang sa kasalukuyang taon, bago natin masabi na ang Earth talaga ay for everything that exists or panglahatan po talaga. So, geologic history of Earth has a major geologic events in Earth's past based on the geologic time scale. So, ang major geologic events po natin ay kung kailan nag-exist, katulad po ng isang core and crust form, ng first appearance ng life, ng Earth, yung ocean, kung kailan nga po nagsimula lahat. At ito po yun. So, major geologic events po ay ang mga sumusunod: planet Earth form, Earth's core and crust form, the Earth's first oceans form, the first life appeared on Earth, oxygen began to accumulate in the Earth's atmosphere, the first animals evolved, the first vertebrates or fish evolved, the first land plants evolved, the first land vertebrates evolved, the first dinosaurs evolved from lizards, the dinosaurs went extinct, and lastly is modern human evolves. So, ito din po yung ating geologic time scale. Sa ating geologic time scale, nandito na yung era, period, epoch, age, million years ago, and events. At magiging topic po natin lahat yan sa mga susunod nating reporter. So, bibigyan ko na kayo ng konting idea kung saan talaga nagsimula ang Earth. So, ang Earth ay nagsimula sa isang dust or disc shape of dust and gas and oxygen. At doon nagsimula ang Earth at ang iba pang solar system. So, here is the video para mas lalo nyong maunawaan ang topic na ito.
The Earth hasn't formed yet. But through time, gravity pulls the dust into tiny rocks. To our surprise, something as complex as a planet is made from nothing more than dust and rocks. Over millions of years, gravity pulls these rocks together to form the Earth, one of at least 100 planets circling the Sun.
So, yan nga po, tiny rocks nagsimula, and yung pag-pull po ng gravity para po magsama-sama po yung mga tiny rocks, at doon po nagsimula yung maraming planet na katulad po ng ating solar system at ng ating mundo nga.
But 4.5 billion years ago, Earth looks more like hell than home. Up close, the temperature is over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There's no air, just carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor. It's so hot and toxic that if we got any closer, we'd be incinerated and suffocated in seconds. This newborn planet is a boiling ball of liquid rock. An endless ocean of lava. A young planet called Theia is heading straight for Earth. The size of Mars, it travels nearly 10 miles per second, 20 times faster than a bullet. The intruder's gravity distorts the Earth's surface. The blast wave races around the planet. It's as though both young planets turn to liquid. Trillions of tons of debris blast out into space. But over the course of 1,000 years, gravity turns the rubble into a ring of red-hot dust and rock that circles the Earth. From this ring, a ball forms, over 2,000 miles wide.
Ito po ang birth ng ating moon.
It's the birth
Napakalapit po sa ating Earth. Pero kung ngayon po kung sa kasalukuyan, sobrang layo na nito.
of our moon. But it's much closer than the moon today. Just 14,000 miles away, instead of 250,000 miles.
So, yun lang po. Dito na po nagtatapos ang aking part ng discussion. And ang susunod na po ay ang Precambrian. And wag po kayo mag-alala, yun po ay part pa rin ng geologic timescale and continuation lang din po na report na ito.
Precambrian. The Precambrian includes approximately 90% of geologic time. It extends from 4.6 billion years ago to the beginning of the Cambrian period. It includes 3 eons, the Hadean, Archean, and Proterozoic. Major volcanic events altering the Earth's environment and causing extinction may have occurred 10 times in the past 3 billion years. Ang Precambrian ay ang pinakamaagang bahagi ng kasaysayan ng ating daigdig na itinakda bago ang kasalukuyang Phanerozoic. Ang Precambrian ay pinangalanan dahil nauna ito sa Cambrian, ang unang panahon ng Phanerozoic Eon, na pinangalanan pagkatapos ng Cambria, ang Latinese na pangalan para sa waves, kung saan ang mga bato mula sa panahong ito ay unang pinag-aralan. Ang Precambrian ay nagtatala ng 88% ng oras ng geologic ng Earth. Ang Precambrian ay isang informal na unit ng panahon ng geologic na nabuo sa tatlong eons, Halian, Archean, Proterozoic. Ng oras ng geologic scale, ito ay sumasaklaw mula sa pagbuo ng Earth tungkol sa 4.6 bilyong taon na nakaraan hanggang sa simula ng panahon ng Cambria. Mga 541 milyong taon na ang nakaraan nang ang unang nilalang ay lumitaw ng labis. Next, Precambrian period animals. The fossil record of multi-celled animals from the Precambrian includes three main groups that have persisted to the present day. This includes the sponges, the nidarians, including sea anemones, corals, and jellyfish, and the annelids or segmented flatworms. What were early Precambrian organisms? The first protozoa appeared followed closely by worms. Soon after, arthropods, mollusks, and fungi show up in the fossil record. The end of the Precambrian time so much more complex organisms like jellyfish, sponges, and organisms with the shells come into existence.
There are three types of period in Precambrian era. First, Hadean Eon. Second, Archean Eon. And third, Proterozoic
Hadean
Eon.
Aeon is the first geologic aeon of the Earth and lies before the Archean. It began with the formation of the Earth about 4,600 million years ago and ended as defined by ICS 4,000 million years ago. The name Hadean comes from Hades, ancient Greek god of the underworld due to the hellish condition on Earth at that time. The planet had just formed and was still very hot due to high volcanism, a partially molten surface, and frequent collision with other solar system bodies. Geologist Preston Clark used the term in 1972. Originally to label the period before the earliest known rocks on Earth, W. Brian Harland later coined an almost synonymous term, the Precon period. Other texts simply refer to the aeon. The Archean, since few geological traces of this aeon remain on Earth, no official subdivision. However, the lunar geologic timescale embraces several major divisions relating to the Hadean Aeon, in somewhat informal sense to refer to the same period of time. The journal Solid Earth in 2010 proposed the addition of two or more ages.
Archean Aeon, the Earth of the early Archean, 4,000 to 2,500 million years ago, may have had a different tectonic style. During this time, the Earth crust cooled enough that rocks and continental plates began to form. Some scientists think because the Earth was hotter that the plate tectonic was more bigger than that in is today. The Earth of the early Archean, 4,000 to 2,500 million years ago, ay meron daw iba't ibang tectonic style. Noon daw, ang Earth's crust daw ay cold enough that ang rocks and continental plates ay nabubuo. The Earth's magnetic field was established 3.5 billion years ago. The solar wind flux was about 100 times of the value of the modern sun. Ang Earth magnetic daw ay na-establish noong 3.5 billion years ago. At ang solar wind flux daw ay 100 times value of the modern sun.
Proterozoic Aeon. Events. First soap-bodied animals appear. First multicellular life appear. Proterozoic comes from a Greek means earlier life. The Proterozoic Aeon is the most recent division of the Precambrian. It is also the longest geologic aeon beginning 2.5 billion years ago at nagtapos noong 541 million years ago. During the Proterozoic Aeon, life began to evolve from simple cell organism into advanced single-cell organisms. The most important of change occurred between 2.3 billion and 1.8 billion years ago, when free oxygen began to accumulate in the atmosphere.
In Paleozoic, the Paleozoic Aeon is the current aeon in geologic timescale. It covers roughly 541 million years. During this period, continents drifted about, eventually collected into a single landmass known as Pangaea and then split up into the current continental land masses. The Paleozoic is divided into three eras: the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic, and the Cenozoic. Most of the evolution of the multicellular life occurred during this time period. The Paleozoic Aeon is the current geologic aeon on the geologic time scale, and it is the one that has seen the most numerous and animal plant life. It began with the Cambrian period, when the organism first produced hard shells that were retained in the fossil record, and it spans 541 million years to the present. The Precambrian period, which preceded the Phanerozoic, is now separated into Hadean, Archean, and Proterozoic aeons.
There are three types of era in Phanerozoic. First, Paleozoic era, second, Mesozoic era, and third, Cenozoic era.
We have here Paleozoic era. So our main article is also Paleozoic, of course. So first, what is Paleozoic era? Paleozoic era, which ran from 541 million to 251.9 million years ago, was a time change of the Great Change on Earth. The era began with the breakup of one supercontinent and the formation of another. Also, plants become widespread, and the first vertebrate animals colonized land. Throughout the early Paleozoic, the Earth's landmass was broken up into substantial number of relatively small continents. Toward the end of the era, the continents gathered together into a supercontinent called Pangaea, which include most of the Earth's land area. So, next.
There are 6 types of period in Paleozoic era. First, Cambrian. Second, Ordovician. Third, Silurian. Fourth, Devonian. Fifth, Carboniferous. And sixth is Permian.
Cambrian period, or the age of invertebrates. Cambrian is the major division of the geologic timescale that begins about 541. Cambrian continents are thought to have resulted from the breakup of Neoproterozoic supercontinent called Pannotia. The waters of the Cambrian period appear to have been widespread and shallow. Continental drift rates may have been anomalously high. And also the events are Endotomian extinction event, first fungi appear, trilobites are dominant. Next, Ordovician period are also the age of invertebrates. Ordovician period started at a major extinction event called the Cambrian. Ordovician extinction event sometime about 485.4. During the Ordovician, the southern continents were collected into a single continent called Gondwana. Gondwana started the period in the equatorial latitude, and as the period progressed, drift toward the South Pole. Also, the events are Ordovician Silurian extinction event, first vertebrates appear. Next, Silurian period. Silurian period is a major division of geologic timescale that started about 443.8 million years ago. During the Silurian, Gondwana continues slow southward, drift to high southern latitudes, but there is evidence that the Silurian ice caps were less extensive than those of the late Ordovician glaciations. The melting of ice caps and glaciers contributed to a rise in sea levels, recognizable from the fact that Silurian sediments overlie eroded Ordovician sediments, forming an unconformity. Other cratons and continent fragments drifted together near the equator, starting the formation of a second supercontinent known as Euramerika. Also, the events of these Silurian periods are the first land plants appear, first geofishes appear, and first insects appear. Next, Devonian period are age of fishes. So, Devonian period, Devonian spanned roughly from 419 to 359 million years ago. The period was a time of great tectonic activity, West Laurasia and Gondwana drew closer together. This continent, Euramerica or Laurasia, was created in the early Devonian by the collision of Laurentia and Baltica, which rotated into the natural dry zone along the Tropic of Capricorn. In this near desert, the all red sandstone sedimentary beds formed, made red by the oxidized iron or hematite, characteristic of drought conditions near the equator Pangaea. Also, the events of this Devonian period are the late Devonian extinction event, first land animals appear, and first amphibian. So our next topic is Carboniferous period. In this Carboniferous period, there is an event about the first reptiles appear, first cartilaginous species appear. Okay, so the last one is Permian period, the age of amphibians. Events, Permian-Triassic extinction event, Pangaea forms.
Mesozoic era. Mesozoic era is the second of Earth's three major geologic eras of Phanerozoic time. Its name is derived from the Greek term for middle life. The Mesozoic era began 252.2 million years ago, following the conclusions of the Paleozoic era, and ended 66 million years ago at the dawn of the Cenozoic era. Sa panahon ng Mesozoic o middle life, mabilis na nag-iba ang buhay at naglibot ang mga higanteng reptiles, dinosaur at iba pang monstrous animals sa Earth. The period, which spans from about 252 million years ago to about 66 million years ago, was also known as the Age of Reptiles or the Age of Dinosaurs. So, ano nga ba ang major event na nangyari sa panahon ng Mesozoic era? Mesozoic era is the Age of Dinosaurs. Sa panahon ng Mesozoic era, ang dinosaurs ang nangingibabaw kung kaya't kailangan ng isang catastrophic to change the environment events, para yung mga mammals naman ang mag-take over. Nagsimula ang Mesozoic sa supercontinent na Pangaea at nagtapos sa extinction ng mga dinosaurs.
There are three types of period in Mesozoic era. First Triassic, second Jurassic, and third Cretaceous.
The first period of the Mesozoic era is the Triassic period, which lasted from 245 to 202 million years ago. The name Triassic comes from Germany, where it was originally named the Trias in 1834 by Friedrich August von Alberti, because it is represented by the three parts division of rock types in Germany. Ang Triassic period ay nagsimula matapos ang pinakamalalang extinction event ng Earth na sumira sa buhay. Ang kaganapan ng Permian-Triassic extinction, nakilala rin bilang ang Great Dying. Ito ay naganap humigit kumulang 252 million years ago at isa sa mga pinakamahalagang kaganapan sa kasaysayan ng ating planeta. Second is the Jurassic period. The Jurassic period was characterized by a warm, wet climate that gave rise to lush vegetations and abundant life. Maraming bagong dinosaurs ang lumitaw na napakaraming bilang. Kabilang sa mga ito ang mga Stegosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Allosaurus at marami pang iba. Cretaceous period in geologic time is the last of the three periods of the Mesozoic era. The Cretaceous began 145 million years ago and ended 66 million years ago. It followed the Jurassic period and was succeeded by the Paleogene period. The Cretaceous was a period with a relatively warm climate resulting in high static sea level that created numerous shallow inland seas. Ang mga karagatan at dagat na ito ay pinaninirahan ng mga wala na ngayong marine reptiles, ammonites, at radish, habang ang mga dinosaurs ay patuloy na nangingibabaw sa lupa.
Cenozoic era. The Cenozoic era is also known as the Age of Mammal because of the extinction of many groups of giant mammal, allowing small species to thrive and diversify because their predators no longer existed. Cenozoic era began about 66 million years ago, known as the Age of Mammal. This is the third major era of Earth history.
there are two types of period in Cenozoic era. First, tertiary, second, quaternary. So, ang tertiary ay may 5 epoch siya. So, ang first ay Paleocene, second, Eocene, third, Oligocene, fifth is fourth ay Miocene, and fifth is Pliocene. So, ang quaternary naman ay may 2 epoch siya. So, ang first ay Pleistocene and second ay Holocene.
Tertiary period. Tertiary is a widely used but absolutely term of the geologic period from 66 to 2.6 million years ago. The tertiary period is leading to a mass extinction that wiped out about 75% of species on Earth. The tertiary began hot and humid and ended in an ice age. Paleocene epoch. Paleocene epoch began at 65.5 million years ago and ended at 23.3 million years ago. Paleocene, first major worldwide division of rock and time of the Paleogene period. The Eocene epoch lasted from about 56 to 33.9 million years ago. Mammals became the dominant land in animals during this epoch. Oligocene epoch. Oligocene epoch started at 33.9 to 23 million years ago before the present. Major changes during the Oligocene included the global expansion of grassland and the regression of tropical broadleaf forests to the equatorial belt. The Miocene epoch is the first geological epoch of the Neogene period and extend from about 23.3 million to 5.33 million years ago. And in Miocene epoch, grass spread quickly and mammals evolved, including the human originated. Next is, and lastly, Pliocene epoch. Pliocene epoch began at 5.33 million to 2.58 million years ago. Pliocene epoch, great climatic changes occurred and continental ice sheet began to spread. The quaternary period is the third and last of the 3 periods of the Cenozoic era. Quaternary period, we are living in this period, which began only at 2.58 million years ago. Pleistocene epoch. Pleistocene epoch lasted from about 2,580 to 11,700 years ago, known as a time during which extensive ice and other glaciers formed and has been informally referred as the Great Ice Age. The Holocene epoch, the last epoch of quaternary period, began at 12,000 to 11,500 years ago, at the close of the Paleolithic Ice Age, and continues through today. That's all. Thank you.